Welcome back to my channel. My name's Jimmy. This is Patriots Glow. Today, we're going to go ahead and make a noodle board. This is going to make a great gift or for resale, especially during these holidays. This is definitely a big seller. I have two that I'm going to make for clients that just order them both today. All right, stick around. Let's find out. You're okay. All right, so today what you are going to need, obviously a pencil for marking, your tape measure, hopefully, from Fast Cap. You're going to definitely need a circular saw. You need some type of saw, let me say that. You will definitely need some type of saw. I will be using a circular saw, and I will also be using the tapes. Enough hardware for as many noodle boards as you're going to make. Not absolutely necessary, but for construction's sake, a nail gun. You can use any type of nails. We are going to use an engraver, a speed square, a stain for your finish, and a lacquer. You will also need your wood. Today, since I'll be making two noodle boards for two different clients, this is going to be a 10-foot long piece. And obviously in the stores, it sells as 12 inches width, but it's going to be 11 and a quarter. You're also going to need at least, I think this is an 8-foot board. This is an 8-foot board. It's going to be a 4 by 1. This is the material that you're going to need to make your two noodle boards. But you can use less material and make one noodle board. It's up to you. Okay, so we are going to start with our first measurement, and you're going to come to 30 inches. You just have to make one small mark. Bring your speed square over and draw down the line. This is going to be your first cut area. Now, noodle boards, most measurements are going to be 22 by 30. So that is what we are going to bring our noodle board to. It's going to be 29 by 30. Now, there's a couple of different tricks that I am going to show you. If you're doing this with a handsaw, you can mark out your line like this. Since I am going to be using my circular saw, there is a nice little trick behind this. Where you line up your blade, and you also line up your speed square so that your circular saw rides your speed square all the way down. And I'll go ahead and show that to you now. Okay, so we went ahead and stopped and skipped to the next measuring so that we wouldn't actually drop that board on the ground. So, gonna mark another mark at 30. Bring your speed square over. Mark it again. We're going to get the blade lined up once again. All right, that was a little bit better thought through, so we were able to keep it moving. All right, so every time you make a cut, you always have to remember that you take 1/8 of an inch extra off every time you make your cut. So we have to come out here and make sure that we're still 60 or slightly over 60. And what we see here is it's going to be 60 inches and 1/8. So we should be safe for our last saw cut to be at 30 inches. 30 inches. Make your mark. Bring your square. Mark out your line. Bring your board down. What we will end up with is 4 boards that are almost exactly the same. Okay, everybody, so most noodle boards, as I said, are going to be 30 by 22. We are sitting at 22 and 5/8. 22 and 5/8. So what we are going to do now, if you have limited tools, and this is kind of one of the things that you're going to just have to deal with, that'll be fine. It'll stick out of the front of the stove just slightly, but it'll still do the job. So looking at these boards though, after they were cut, what you'll end up having is basically they're not exactly straight. So they teeter-totter off of each other. We are going to take these over to the table saw and we are going to rip down 1/4 of an inch off of both of these, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now that the main part of our boards are done, we are at 22 inches. So now that we have made it that far, we are going to come and mark 22 inches. And we'll do this quite a few times. So we are going to go ahead and speed through this. And I'll catch you on the other side. Okay, now that you have all of your pieces cut, and you dry fit it, which I did over on the bench. You put them together, you line them up, you make sure your end boards are going to line up really nice, really good. Take that off. You're going to use your glue. Make sure we're good. Flip your board up. And I know this drives some of my other fellow content creators out. They do not like when they're getting wood glue on their hands. But we'll be all right. All right. So you set that down. Line your boards up. Now underneath here we have plexiglass laying down so that when it's time to peel these apart, they are going to try to stick to whatever you have them on. We will be able to get them unstuck without too big of an issue. For good measure. So after you do that, come through with a rag. Oh, don't do that. Glue starts drying fast. Gotta work fast. Okay, everybody. It's been a blink of an eye for you, but for me, it's the very next day. We went ahead and let the glue set and dry for about 20 hours after it's glued up. Depending on the type of glue that you use, you don't actually have to give it, an entire day to dry off. But it was getting late last night. My cameraman, which is my son, obviously, has school. So we went ahead and called him night last night after we got these all glued up. Now remember, especially if you're first starting out, if you're struggling, take your time, relax, come back. Sometimes that's all it takes. Even with me, I've made a couple of these noodle boards, but sometimes it still takes a little bit of finesse to get these boards lined up because we do two different cuts and join those together. So we are going to go ahead and sand down our glue point here, all the edges, both sides. We're going to get everything sanded up. We're going to go ahead and zip through that real quick. Put your first two staples in, because if you don't, these will slide around because of all the glue. And you don't want a bunch of glue getting on that top side, which very well might have happened, but we'll see once we flip it over. Okay, now I do recommend, people are going to be lifting this up by this area. Please make sure there's enough there's enough nails in it. Obviously, you have the wood glue, which is going to help it, but you don't want somebody, especially a client, if you've made this for a client, going to pick up their noodle board and that just go falling right off. Okay, so these clients asked for 2 different stains. One asked for Mission Oak, which I really like, aged barrel. I also like, but I do like that Mission Oak better. What I end up doing is I will start out on the bottom side. What I have found is it'll make the process go a little bit faster because the bottom side will not be stained as dark as the top side. Okay, everybody, this part of the video is going to be a little bit different. I don't have my cameraman. He is sleeping. So I'm going to go ahead and start engraving these now that we have the template. And the puppies have joined us for the morning. Cooper, come here. So I think they're going to hang out with us this morning, and we're going to go ahead and get engraving. See you in a minute. All right, we're back again. So we are done with engraving on both noodle boards. So, all right, now the next step of this process is to add your polyurethane or clear coat. We are going to use Minwax's Helmsman Spar Urethane, and I really like this. Works really well. If you feel like you missed something, you should be able to see it in the glare of the light. So check with the glare of the light, make sure you got it. All right, guys, we're back again. We have now put on our 3rd coat of lacquer. Everything's dry. And now this is going to be your final step. We are going to attach the hardware for the handles so that you can pick up. Attach the hardware so you can pick it up off of the stove. You're going to need your drill, all your hardware. So I've already pre-measured and got all the measurements for everything. You're going to come down 8 inches and about 1/8, which will line up about the same exact on both sides as long as you made your boards 22 inches long. And then the center mark is going to be right at 1 3/4. And do that for every single one of them. As long as your boards are square, you shouldn't have any problem. Now, you can pre-drill these, but honestly, these screws are so small you should not have an issue with it. But All right, folks. So there you have it. This is going to be what your final. So now all we have to do is go over the cost breakdown of this, and we should be good. All right. So the noodle boards are done. This one and this one. These are going to clients. This one is obviously ours. This belongs in our house. But wanted to show you all three of them and go over a price comparison on what we're looking at here. So in all, what I ended up spending at the hardware store was $46.85. That was our 10-foot board and our 8-foot board, running $18.38 for the and $5 for the 4-inch whiteboard. We also had 2 cans of stain that we bought at $12 a piece. So we have that factored into here as well. But if you have stain at home, you don't need 2 stains. You can do it with 1 stain if you'd like. It's completely and entirely up to you. The only reason I actually bought stain was to basically resupply what I have. But, you know, when you're staining projects, it's only going to be a couple of dollars you're actually going to have to use on these. There are a couple of things that I did not purchase that I am going to factor in here as well. So we're looking at $46.85. Let's say, regardless, you're buying the 2 stains, you're purchasing all the wood. You also need a lacquer, which is roughly going to be about anywhere from $7 to $12 depending on what you pick up. But I used 1 entire can of lacquer on both boards. So we will factor in, let's see, an additional $10. You also have to think about the hardware that I also had that you can purchase on Amazon or at the hardware store. And that is going to be $1.50 a piece. So we're looking at, I had to factor in a little bit of different math here. So with $46.85 being what we spent at the hardware store, $10 for the lacquer or stain that you're going to use, and then $6 for the hardware that you're going to need, all comes up to $63. So for everything for these 2 noodle boards costs $63, and you can sell these. I see them anywhere from $100 to $150 to $200. But when you're first starting out, I think it's more realistic for $100 to $125. So factoring these both in, that's if you don't run any sales on Etsy or anything like that. Factoring both of these in, we're looking at $187 of profit. Selling each one for $125. $187 worth of profit. And combined actual hours out here, not waiting on it to dry, things of that nature, because this was a 3-day process, 4-day process. I spent probably 4 hours worth of time also doing things in the garage. So 4 hours. So $187 for 4 hours is going to be $46.75. So not bad. $46.75 to do something that you love to do. I like those odds. All right, and so $46.75, that is without, that will be without shipping or handling To take that into consideration, it costs right about $20 to ship these, depending on where you're shipping them to through the U.S. So if you sell these locally, obviously your profit's going to be a lot higher. But if you sell them on Etsy, you're looking at spending and making about $36.75 per hour. So net profit of $147. So that is something. This is a really good project. I enjoy doing the noodle boards. They look really good. They're fun to do. Relatively easy to do. Something that you can definitely do for a gift. You know, and if you're not going to sell these, to make 2 of these, we're looking at $60, $30 per gift for somebody. Mom, aunt, grandma, grandpa, dad. So, all right. Well, that will go ahead and conclude. Be sure to like and subscribe. And I will catch you later.